Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get the meeting started. Before I call for a roll call in order, I would like to welcome Dr. Carmona to his first official board meeting in District 46. So it is wonderful to have you here this evening, and looking forward to many good board meetings. I'd like to call to order, please, with a roll call.
Mack.
Here.
Braden.
Here.
Nash.
Here.
Halverson. Absent. Hune.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
And Weedman.
Here.
Okay, we have quorum. Please join me for the pledge. Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve this evening's agenda, please.
I'll move. I'll second.
Okay.
Miller.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
Hune.
Aye.
And Nash.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comments signed up? I don't think so. No? Okay. All right, and that brings us to the presentation on the Media Center update. So there we are. So we've arrived.
Right off the top. Right. All right, so this is just a quick update on where we are with not just this summer's work, but also next summer's work at the three buildings that are under design right now. So just a reminder as we dive into this, kind of what the process is. We've been through this a few times, but if you remember back in late 2024, I think it was, we had the core planning group that came together, kind of came up with what the kit of parts were that were going to go into each of the media centers. And then as we've gotten into each project, we're applying that to each of the buildings individually and have met with the users of each of those spaces as well as student groups along the way, which is what has developed into the projects that are under construction right now, as well as the three buildings that we'll show you that are going to be for next summer. So if we start with the middle school, for all the buildings, we're through all the user group process. We've met with the students and gotten the feedback. This is kind of the floor plan that has been settled on. It's because it's the middle school, it's got both the STEM and the makerspace in, if you remember. It's also got multiple of the small group meeting rooms that are on there. There's two of them up at the top of the plan, and we actually were able to squeeze in a third one kind of behind the librarian's workstation there. A new entrance into from the south side, so they got both north and south access from the main corridors. And then we had to also kind of displace some additional spaces for the faculty workroom and the instructional coaches room that kind of took up a couple of oversized rooms to the south there. So now these are more appropriately sized and easily accessed off the corridor directly as opposed to through the media center. Like we did with the other buildings, we've got from the feedback from mostly from the students, kind of the biome that we've developed, that biome theme for each of the buildings. This one being the Panthers, it's kind of a tropical jungle theme. So we've got that mural that'll be finalized once we get a little bit further into the design process and kind of picking that color palette that not only complements that biome, but also the school colors as well. Here's some renderings from the interior space. So this, the top one is kind of looking from the STEM and makers classrooms back towards the media center specialist desk. So taking advantage of the big volume of that space with the big wood beams, kind of adding a little bit more acoustic treatment to some of the walls and stuff to help improve the sound. And then similarly down there below, you've got the view from the new entrance coming in on the right and the maker space on the left. Over at Avon, similar approach, but it's the elementary level, so it's just got the maker space, no STEM for here. But same thing with the operable wall that'll open then to the large group space to kind of give that overflow seating for larger group, full staff sort of occupancy. A little bit more flexibility with the seating and things like that. One thing that a little bit of additional scope here is down at the bottom where it was one larger MDF room. We've subdivided that to the MDF room is now appropriately sized for the equipment that's in there, but we were able to also then carve out a faculty workroom that's accessible off the corridor as well. So a little bit easier for the faculty to get in there, make copies and print and do all that fun stuff. The novas, so kind of a space stars sort of biome here. You can sort of see the playfulness there with the lighting, trying to create the comets and galaxy, whatever we've got there. Again, I'm a mechanical engineer trying to play architect. Let's not read into it too much here. But still the same theme. I think it looks great. Going to be carrying that theme through the flooring from the makerspace out into the large group room as well, and using that flooring pattern to really kind of lead you through the space, sort of as a wayfinding method. Again, some views from in there. This top one, I think, is looking from the north entrance back towards the middle of the space. You can see the story area, the tiered story area on the left there for the reading. A view from the maker space going out, and then like that one at the bottom is a view from the south entrance, maybe looking in. But you can see how that lighting and the flooring doesn't really show up on these renderings, but the lighting kind of leads you through that as well. Over at Woodview, a little bit more challenging of a space just because it's a little bit of a funky kind of L-shaped area, but able to take advantage of some of the spaces to the north end of the plan there. Kind of tuck that teacher workspace sort of back out of the way, but still provide visibility to all the student spaces from the media specialist's desk at the front. Again, makerspace only, opens up to the larger group area with some window space behind it, so good lighting still coming into that makerspace even though it's a fully interior space like that. Again, it's also displaced some of the instructional coach space that was up there to that north kind of nook up in the top. But that's being addressed elsewhere in the building. Part of the long-range facility plan also included adding additional toilet room space. There's only currently one staff or individual toilet in this building. This now adds 3 more, so you'll have 4 total, which is more appropriate for a building of this size and gets you on par with some of the other buildings in the district. But we also were able to take advantage of some of that extra space in the main office area to carve out an assistant principal's office, as well as that instructional coach space. And then, like I said, a couple of those individual toilet rooms there as well. So also, like I said, knocking off a few of the items from the long-range facility plan. The biome here, Woodview, the woods, pretty obvious there. Nice little owl poking his head out from the tree. Again, trying to get sort of a woodsy vibe to some of the finishes in there. You can see the carpet we're looking at has got that kind of tree bark sort of feel to it. And then this one actually gets a little bit more playful, being the elementary school where it's got some of the acoustic treatments. We can start to bring in some leaf shapes and things like that. And sort of create, similar to how we did at some of the other buildings, some of those columns, take advantage of those and make those sort of a tree sort of feel to them. So as far as where we're at right now, we've got our design committee and our furniture committee, 2 groups that we met with just before the end of the school year back in May, and sort of went on hiatus over the summer. We're gonna get together again coming up here in August and sort of wrap up the final design committee meetings by the end of September, and the final furniture committee selection process will be in October. It's gonna give them an opportunity to sort of see how these 4 buildings are working and what's working in those spaces, how they've been lived in for a month or 2. And if we need to make any adjustments to some of that furniture procurement or how the spaces are working, it gives us a little bit of feedback to make those adjustments before we go out to bid in October and come back with award in November, which is the schedule we've talked about for the last couple months. So all in all, we're in really good shape. Things are moving pretty well. I think it's been great feedback from the user groups and from the kids, and yeah, that's where we're at. And Dan from Bear is here. He'll give a brief update on kind of how things are going construction this summer.
Yeah, hi, as he said, I'm Dan with Bear Construction. I know some of you have seen these spaces, maybe some of you have not. So I'm just gonna give you, no one taught me how to use, a brief update here. So almost all the schools are pretty much in the same phase within a couple days of each other. All of the heavy, I'll call it heavy construction and rework has been completed. The new layouts are in place. As you can see, walls are up and drywall, I don't know exactly when these photos are from, but from Monday, okay. How do you advance this? Oh, it's just this slide. Oh, that's why. So drywall is up. almost everywhere. It's being finished if it's not finished already. Painting actually started this week. If we walk out here and look up, you'll see painted ceiling and soffits and colors, so starting to come together. We'll start having ceilings installed tomorrow, actually. And then, so we're kind of in that finishes phase where the finishes start to come in, the flooring will come in later. All the fancy acoustic stuff will be at the tail end, but, you know, we're kind of past the major renovation work, and now we're just onto the finishes.
Thank you both very much. Questions from the board? Comments? It's a
I
great
just
update. Yeah,
Just
thank
out
you.
of curiosity, first of all, thank you for the work that you've been doing. I'm just curious about the acoustics. It's come up a few times in your presentation. Can you just give us an overview of what that is going to remedy or what it's going to do?
Sure. I'm gonna go back to one of your renderings.
Yeah.
You wanna talk about it?
Sure. So anytime you've got large volume spaces like that, with hard surfaces, gyp walls, things like that, sound just wants to echo around it, right? And these are media centers. They're not your traditional library that, you know, traditional libraries are quiet. Shh, we're reading. Media centers are more active, right? There's a lot more conversation. It's meant to encourage a little bit more collaboration in some of these spaces. There are times for quiet, but it also has times for noise. So we want to make sure that we are controlling, or at least helping to minimize kind of how that sound bounces around. So there could be things like the leaf patterns here are kind of acoustic panels. That's mostly, they're fabric covered, kind of styrofoamy, sort of lightweight things that'll either hang on the walls or hang from the ceilings that currently just sort of defer or diffuse the sound as it tries to bounce around the room. Mm-hmm.
I got a
Mr.
question.
Weedman, yep.
First off, thanks for all the work you guys been doing.
Yeah.
Second off, knock on wood, we're on time.
Yeah, I probably should have said that.
And I look forward to being able to tour them and see how they turn out in the end.
Yeah,
Thank
I would
you.
love to do a tour, yeah.
Yeah,
That'd
absolutely.
be great. That'd be great. Okay.
I mean, and I think we kind of joked about this before, but that area back there, if you want to pop your head in real quick, it's in a condition that you're fine. There's nothing, it's safe to kind of go
Okay,
take a quick
maybe
peek
we'll
if
do
you
that.
want.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
don't have to do it now, just at some point.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, that brings us to the board reports section of the agenda, and I will go ahead and start this evening. But Mr. Wold, I did not welcome you at the beginning of the meeting, and I apologize for that oversight on my part. Mr. Wold is our new Chief Business Officer, and welcome to District 46. It is a delight to have you here as well. My apologies for overlooking that. No, my apologies for overlooking that. So that is on me totally. The only update that I have is I was at a recent executive meeting for the IASB team. It's one meeting per year that I go to where we plan the 2 dinners. So that's the extent of that meeting. So we get sandwiches, and then we plan what those 2 meetings are going to be. The meeting dates are going to be October 14th and February 10th. The October 14th one is the fall meeting. The February 10th one is the spring meeting. It's earlier in the spring than we normally do, just because there's a bunch of different conflicts with some different things going on with IASB. That one, we have a board meeting on that night. We might have to do some movement like we did the last time so that we're able to go to these. I would love to tell you what the topics are, because we did decide on the topics, but my notebook is in another vehicle. So I'll get back to you the next time with the topics. So October 14th and February 10th. And that's all I have. I'll go down to Mr. Weedman this time.
No, I was just gonna say welcome to Dr. Carmona and Scott. I told you I had you covered. Welcome to the district. I look forward to working with all of you, and summer's almost over.
I know. You don't have to remind me. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I just started shaking a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Ms. Miller?
so I also wanted to welcome Mr. Wold and Dr. Carmona. Thank you for accepting these positions. It's wonderful to be with you at the table, and looking forward to working with you. I have a couple things, but I need my glasses. So I have several thank yous. I wanted to thank our O&M team and our architect and Bear for all the work that's going on around the building, looking at the reports, seeing some overtime, so just appreciate the O&M department, so thank you. Also wanted to say that I was walking my dog and walked by GMS and got to see the community gardens, and those look amazing, so very exciting to see that work, so thank you again for that. And thank you to Mr. Smith, if he's listening. And then also thank you to Dr. Pelser for just continually bringing back the Resource Conservation Committee in your memos and looking for ways to recycle and for vendors who have take-back programs, so thank you for that. Then also at our last meeting, we had a policy meeting, and we had a discussion about past successes, like what's worked, what did you bring, those kinds of questions, and we have a list of the responses to that, which I will send to all of the committee members so that you can take a look at them. I will also synthesize just a tentative list of norms and agreements and would love your feedback prior to the August meeting. You won't get it for about a week because you won't, but you will get that before the next policy meeting. So if you could just take a look at that, that would be fantastic. That's my word.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Ms. Braden?
I have two things that are a little belated because I couldn't be at the June meeting. So the first is to thank everyone who joined us for the Pride Parade in June. Staff, teachers, district office folks. It was, as always, our 6th annual. It's just really a really fun and joyful day celebrating our community, and it's incredibly meaningful to our community to see our district there. So thanks to everybody who helped make that happen. And I do want to put out a bit of a challenge because D127 showed us up. They had balloons, they had a band, they had, 30 people. So next year, we have I think we should have a little healthy competition. We have Corny, which is the inflatable unicorn float that we put on top of the car, but they had like massive balloon situations. So we're gonna have to up our game. But game on, so. And then secondly, I had the opportunity to attend the mini summit that was a collaboration between the ROE and EdRed in June. And just brief report there was an opportunity to go to a couple breakouts and a keynote. I went to a breakout that was, it was about communications. There was the folks from, I think, the Deerfield district. And it was a great conversation about balancing community engagement with sort of making sure, protecting teacher privacy and other issues. So I had some good takeaways. My notebook from that event is also not with me tonight. I took out my phone because I was sure I had taken notes on my phone, not there. So I can share those and even share them with Leslie because I think, you probably already know these people and have conversations with them as well, but I thought it was really useful. It's some good tips. They gave a legislative update, which I think is, we've been talking about all along, so there wasn't anything particularly new there, but just wanted to also say that facility in Lake Forest, the new ROE facility, is really, really, really nice. It's a great space. So it was good to just even to see that space. And welcome everyone as well. Appreciate it, and that's what I got.
Thank you, Ms. Nash.
Awesome. I will echo the warm welcome. It is so nice to have you all installed and around the room, and I know we are going to glean lots and grow forward together, so grateful for the opportunity to serve with you all. And I just have one item on my board report, which is a huge community thank you. Following the very successful Juneteenth annual celebration of Freedom Walk here in Grays Lake, it continues to grow year over year and become even more impactful and more well attended. So I'm grateful for that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just give a few shout outs to some Lake County dignitaries that showed up to make it all the more welcoming and inviting. We had our Lake County Sheriff, John Eidelberg, attend this year. While our state senator, Mary Edley Allen, couldn't be there in person, her team was there representing very well. And my favorite, because her name has favor in it, our state representative, Laura Favor Diaz, there as always supporting, and also gave our kickoff address alongside our mayor of our beautiful Grays Lake. Our community leans in so tough. We've had so many community partners, but it couldn't be done specifically without the Grays Lake Area Public Library and the Grays Lake Heritage Center and Museum, who have been phenomenal partners throughout the years, bringing in identifying new vendors, new community partners, sponsorships. And so just grateful for the community leaning in. And last but not least, the District 46 staff, volunteers that came out to support. It was truly awesome. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Nash. Mrs. Hume.
So I'm going to sound very repetitive now because I also would like to welcome Dr. Carmona and Mr. Wold. And I also want to acknowledge the Juneteenth event. I had the pleasure of attending again this year, and it's such a joyous event, really informative, and it really is wonderful to see the community coming together. And so I'm very appreciative to Tamika for all the work that you do on that. As well as all of the community partners that you've named, because it really is, it's a very moving event every year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hume. All right, that concludes the board reports. So Dr. Carmona, I invite you to give your first superintendent's report for District 46.
Good evening, board members and members of the community who are watching. It's certainly an honor to present my first report as superintendent of schools. I want to thank you for the confidence you have placed in me, and really excited to begin this work alongside our staff, our families, our students, certainly, and the whole CCSD community. My career in education spanned over 25 years as a teacher, building principal, and district leader. Throughout that time, my focus had remained on removing barriers so our staff can excel and our students can succeed. I believe every child deserves an education that challenges their mind and prepares them for a changing world. I know we have had these conversations before, and that shared belief that I have with the district is the reason why I'm here representing in this particular position. Over the next several months, my top priority is to listen and learn. I have already began that work this week with conversations with board members, so thank you for coming and having conversations with me. You haven't signed up yet, please complete the form, because I'm really looking forward to having those conversations with you. I have conversations also with our principals and members of the cabinet, and I will continue with that listening tour into every one of our schools when we opened in August, into conversation with the staff, with our students, our families, and into community forums, so that I have a chance to actually listen directly from those that are in the district and have contact with the district every single day. I'll also continue meeting with you one-on-one, of course, because building a strong partnership with the board is very important to me. During these meetings, I'll be gathering input through conversation, reviewing qualitative data. I'm a data person, I want you to know that. But I'm a data person that also looks a lot at qualitative data. I think sometimes, unfortunately, in education, we're only looking at proficiency scores, growth scores, and academic outcomes, but we also have to listen from those that are impacted by the decisions that we make collectively here at the board. And all of that information will be brought to you at some point with a summary of the finding. I think I also want to take advantage of that. We are at the same time doing the strategic plan. We're going to do a lot of engagement and getting a lot of information from our families. So a combined effort in terms of collecting that information will really inform what I'm going to do for District 46. This listening tour, I want to clarify, this is not a formality. This is how I plan to shape my priorities going forward, and I'll keep you updated on what I'm hearing along the way. Beyond sharing my excitement to be here today and to be part of this wonderful family, I don't have anything specific to report. This is day 7, actually day 8, as who's looking at the calendar. Apparently the summer is over, somebody mentioned that. But I wanted to turn things over today to our cabinet team, who will be presenting most of today's agenda. Once again, very grateful for this opportunity and looking forward to the great work that we're going to do together for District 46. I'll turn it to Amy, who will be talking about our kindergarten screening process. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. I wanted to share and update you on our first annual kindergarten welcome and screening. I think I've mentioned it before, but we are bringing in all of our incoming kindergartners over the summer next week, July 14th, 15th, and 16th. We are bringing all kindergartners, regardless of what school you go to Woodview School, because it has a space that is not being renovated. And so between 9 and 1 on those 3 days, we already have 168 kindergarten students signed up for 20-minute slots for us to get to know them, for us to learn about them and have some interaction with their families as well. So I'm really excited about that. And part of why we're excited about the 168 is we have 183 fully registered students in kindergarten. So it is almost all of our incoming kindergartners. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jose for another update.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to update everyone on the work that we have been doing with reunification and safety. Earlier this year, we had the awesome opportunity to attend a reunification practice with District 116 in Brown Lake. And we got to see the process for the first time. We used the same reunification site. So a few of our colleagues, we put together a crisis team with Heather Lorenzo, Dr. Pelser, a few principals, Marcus, Leslie, and a few law enforcement people. We did this so that we have to put our own plan together. And once we came out of that event, we met together and with law enforcement, with our law enforcement partners, and we talked about logistics and things that are going to help us move forward and plan, and that's what the crisis team has been doing. We're going to meet tomorrow also to talk about our findings, logistics, the use of radios, the use of the way it'll be structured, and later on, toward the end of July, we'll have the team will show our leadership team how this will happen, and hopefully before school begins, we will have a rollout practice run. So we plan to do this, especially with our law enforcement partners. But I really want to thank my colleagues, especially Dr. Pelser and Dr. Lorenzo, who have the key piece in the technology, and also Lorenzo's strong knowledge of all the different personalities at the police departments that she knows has been a huge help. Not only that, with our new member, like my new boss, Scott, who has a background in safety and security, so it's going to be a huge move forward. So, thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you very, very much. All right. That brings us to the consent agenda this evening. I need a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda, which also includes the personnel addendum that was sent to us earlier today.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Dr.
Yeah, what's that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr.
I
Weaver.
had one question
Okay, go ahead, Mrs.
for
Ashley.
Mrs. Pelser, and I apologize, I didn't send it in advance. With regards to the disposal of property, I noticed that we do donate some of those. I think that was flagged. Who do we donate the
So
property
there's
to?
so there is some carts that are being donated to a different school district who's going to reuse them because they are bringing devices back in, so they're not sending devices home, and so it just was serendipitous that we were getting rid of them and didn't have a place to store them with the new construction, and they're got a new home in a different district. That's awesome. Yeah.
Mr. Weaver?
My only comment it would be for Scott moving forward. If it's all right with the rest of the board, if you see one of the reports that you think needs to be revamped or updated or show different data, please feel free to add that in as you see fit. So you can give us a bigger, broader picture of the financial look in our district. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with what we got, but I think it's become a little stale. So maybe a refresh of those reports might do us some good. That's all I have.
Agree. Thank you. Okay.
Braden,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Hune,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda passes. We have some action items to go through this evening. First up is, I need a motion, please, to approve the board policies as listed in the agenda and as they had been presented at the last policy meeting.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
and Hune.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Next, I need a motion to approve the door replacement project as that has been presented to us at a couple of the previous meetings.
I'll move.
I'll second this time.
Hune,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Nash.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Next, I need a motion to approve the LED lighting project as presented.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Hune,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And this next motion was tabled from the previous meeting in June. I need a motion to approve the portrait of a learner to the strategic plan process.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Dr. Mack, I have a
Yeah, we've
quick
got some
question.
comments. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mrs. Nash, and then I'll go to Mrs. Miller.
Okay. My question is, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity, like when I was looking at the stakeholder group associated with this, if we have an opportunity to bring in like D127, just to see like potentially where we may have like some gaps. I would imagine because they are, preparing kids even more closer for like, college and career readiness, that they do something similar. So perhaps like overlaying this work with potentially what they're already doing, so we can identify like where we can really shore up and make sure that we're transitioning our kids in the fashion that they're receiving them, and kind of make that process seamless. Continuity throughput as we hand off.
That's a great suggestion. It's something that we have considered already, not only with 127 or with any other district actually that can provide additional support. We have done it strategically. One of the reasons I also suggest and recommend to approve the portrait of the graduates, it will allow us to have in the strategic plan committee somewhere between 40 to 60 people part of that committee. And then in the portrait of the graduate, we have 30 to 40 people. So we're talking now about having almost 100 different stakeholders working at the same time and basically gathering information and engagement processes to not only work on the strategic plan, but also give us a good understanding of what skills and what are the outcomes that we expect from our students. So certainly partnering with the high school makes tons of sense.
Thank you.
So apologies for not sending this earlier, but I think it'll be fine. In the memo that you sent us introducing the portrait of the learner and its value, there's a sentence that says these competencies include, and then there's a list of competencies. I'm curious whether that is a fixed list, or is that list something that we generate locally?
That is a great question, and funny that we had a conversation today in cabinet about walking into meetings with predisposed notions of what we expect to come out of those meetings. That is not authentic engagement. Authentic engagement is actually gathering information throughout the meeting. So what you see on that list is what competencies we have seen coming from other portrait of graduates, these as examples. But when the organization, our partners in this process come in, we start with a blank slate. And those competencies actually will be dictated by the committee and by the input that we gather, whether through the surveys, the different focus groups, or during the committee meetings.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, sometimes we have the feedback synthesizes very cleanly, and we're all pretty much on the same page. Other times, there are a few things that are on the margin, and we typically ignore those and wipe those away, and yet there's really good information on the margin. So I'm curious if there's a way to include that.
I'm smiling because it's something that I have done for many years, and it's one of my biggest complaints in the sense that we gather feedback, and at the end of the day, we only report on the themes that are found through that feedback, which is good. At the same time, sometimes people feel that their voices were not heard during that process. So what I'm anticipating happening is that we will be able to report into how the feedback informed the two different documents. At the same time, that outlier information that you're mentioning, what are we going to do with that information? I remember Amy asking me a question the other day about, should we include this in the survey? When we already know and can predict that people may mention that as something that they want, but we may not have the funding to do it. Well, guess what? When we get the funding, now I don't have to do another survey. Now I know exactly what the needs are for a particular school. So it's important for people to know exactly where the feedback went and why the feedback was not included as part of the initiative. So yes, that will be part of the responses. I actually anticipate, and I haven't talked to Amanda on this, but actually what I anticipate happening is as we go into these meetings, and I have to ask the company, hopefully they're listening right now, because what I envision happening is as we get information, start gathering information, I envision having a report on the website to say, this is what we heard, this is the themes that we're finding and seeing, because by the way, that allows us to get more feedback from people. And these are the pieces that don't necessarily fit into this, but this is what we're going to do with that information. So I think that's something that people then feel validated as they come to these different meetings, as they respond to the surveys, because we are validating their voices. May not necessarily be part of the strategic plan, but I think it deserves an explanation of why.
Okay.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Hune,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Nash.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, that brings us to the strategic plan update. I will hand that over to, who am I handing it over to? Mrs. Gluck? Anybody? Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, the whole team,
Will
okay.
be the whole team.
Okay.
Well, without me, but I'll be here to answer any questions. But I was telling the team that actually this is a great opportunity because what we have right now is kind of a bridge between our previous strategic plan and the processes that we're going to do for the new strategic plan. So as you hear conversations about what we have accomplished so far in the 25-26 school year and where we're going in 26-27, I want to make sure that so far that information is informed with the data that we have today. However, as we start building our strategic plan, that will be the 26-2029. Am I saying that correctly? No. Yeah, correct. That information will change and the goals will change. So I just want you to pay attention to that piece because at the end of the day, we are just looking at what we anticipate happening in 26-27 prior to collecting all of the information from our different stakeholders. So Amy, take it away.
Thanks. So that's this first slide. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Carmona. This is our strategic plan update. As Dr. Carmona just said, we know that everything we're going to be talking about in terms of our goals and the work that we've accomplished goes back to our mission. We are empowering our learners through this process and and we're empowering ourselves as learners as well in this process, absolutely creating equity for our students, our staff, and our community, and cultivating community. And you'll hear about that throughout all of our updates. And I have a whole team behind me because they all have goals that they're going to talk about as well. However, as you know, there are multiple curriculum goals, so I'm going to start. And this first curriculum goal is around reviewing and updating teaching, learning, and assessment practices and materials through an equity lens to create culturally responsive learning environments. We accomplished a lot in this area over the course of this last school year. As you are aware, we implemented two brand new math resources, one at K-5, which was illustrative math, and one at 6-8, which was amplified Desmos. And as we implemented both of those new math resources, we absolutely increased our levels of student discourse. And so that's our students communicating with each other about math concepts and understanding. When you walked into any given math lesson, in really every classroom across the district, we were watching students engage in understanding math at levels that were just incredible, and just explaining their thinking. So as we look at that, we of course will continue that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But our NWA data shows an increase as well from their student understanding, so it's great. In addition to that, we initiated a 5th through 8th grade standards-based reporting planning and design team, or PDT, as we like to call them, as we like acronyms. So that committee was starting to work on looking at our standards-based reporting to start rolling up from K4. As you know, we've had standards-based reporting and grading and reporting in K4 since before I started in the district. And so it's time for us to start talking about what happens when kids get to 5th grade and how do we continue that. So we had a committee of staff that came together and really just started to learn about what does that look like at a 5-8 level? What does that mean for grading in their classrooms? What does that mean in terms of reporting out to families? They also spent some time exploring what our K4 report cards look like and how our K4 staff are already engaging in that process, and started to think about how do we support our staff and our community in moving forward in this process. So that is, we have lots more work to do there, but it was a great opportunity for us to start that planning and design team. We also had some work at the building level that was focused on formative assessment, so assessment for learning, where our staff were having conversations about how do they use the information they're gathering about their students, whether it be a formal assessment or just activities within the classroom, or conversations with their students that they can then use to inform their instructional decision making. And how do we use that in order to help to meet individual student needs? So spend a lot of time at the building level doing that. Building administrators were leading that work, as well as some of the instructional coaches. And that also leads into the last bullet on this slide, which is about continuing to discuss service delivery, focused on providing equitable access to core instruction. So I know that we've had conversations here before where I've shared that Dr. Lorenzo and Mrs. Bogren shared with us how we can support our students and ensure that they are receiving core instruction in addition to any supports that they need, well above and beyond that. So we've continued to have lots of conversation about what does that look like in the classroom, what does our master schedule look like in order to ensure that that's happening, and we will continue to do that as well. So that leads to, with this same goal, what are we going to do then next year, this upcoming school year? We are going to continue that work with formative assessments, and we're going to continue that across all content areas and continue to have some more district-wide conversation about that, and we are going to be working on developing some proficiency scales as well for our students to be able to help us to understand when our students showing mastery related to their standards. In addition to that, we're planning to continue that 5-8 standards-based reporting PDT, where they will continue to help to guide the work that needs to happen in terms of professional development, not only for staff, but for families as well. What does that look like for our students? We really are a standards-based instructional model, so how do we make sure that our reporting aligns to our instruction? And then the last piece is implementing our new media center spaces, including our maker space, at the 4 buildings that are under construction right now. That will happen again the following year for the 3 buildings that are not yet under construction. And really, we've been spending a lot of time talking about how do we use those spaces? What do we do in order to engage our students and engage our staff, and ensure that, you know, it's not just a nice, new, pretty space, but we're using it the way that it needs to be used. So that leads me to curriculum goal number 2, and that goal is about investigating options for newer revised course offerings with emphasis on world language, dual language, and encore opportunities. You've heard me talk about this goal a lot in the past few years, and we've already had some conversation where we've kind of finished a couple of those pieces, right? Regarding the piece around encore and world language. We accomplished this year, however, all of those led into the updated 5-8 master schedule that we changed. We finished our second year last year, so 2 years ago. With that, we made changes this past school year based on staff feedback. This feedback this year has been positive, and so we're going to continue with the changes that we started this past school year in terms of what that schedule looks like. In addition to that, we had 6 half-days, monthly half-days this past school year, and as I believe we may have shared some of this information previously, but I'll share again that we used those days in order to provide some professional development related to instruction specifically that was supporting students for all staff. So what that looked like in some cases were Mrs. Bogren was sharing information with all of our staff on how to support our multilingual learners, how do we scaffold and really think about what do their levels of language acquisition mean in our classrooms, and how do we ensure that we're meeting their needs. In addition to that, Dr. Lorenzo and Mrs. Bogren together shared information about scaffolding for students. So how do we ensure that we're really truly finding ways to support the needs of all of our students. We met with our program assistants as well to provide them support and led them through some trainings related to supporting students in terms of behavior and what does that look like. So we did a lot with those half days and look forward to how we're going to use them this coming school year. And then the last piece that we accomplished this last school year in relation to this goal is that we planned all the logistics for two-way dual language programming that is starting, as you know, in kindergarten this coming school year at Avon and Prairie View. And we're really excited about what that's going to look like. So they had to look at things like language allocation and what the schedule looks like so students can receive all of their content while getting half their day in Spanish and half their day in English. So a lot of logistics that go with that. So thank you to Mrs. Bogren for leading that. And then what are we going to do then this coming school year? Well, we're gonna implement all that. We're gonna spend a lot of time implementing that two-way dual language model at the kindergarten level at those 2 schools. And then the second piece is, as you've heard, we are moving to and implementing a co-teaching model with a continuum of support for students who receive multilingual services, moving away from that sheltered model. So having our students get back into their core content for some of their support in addition to receiving other supports throughout the day. So those are the 2 curriculum goals. We did nothing over the last year, by the way. I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Pelser.
Thank you, Amy. So I'm going to share about our technology goal, which is to develop, review, and communicate a comprehensive master technology plan on an annual basis, which focuses on equitable and engaging technology-rich learning environments, both inside and outside of the classroom, to serve our students, staff, and communities aligned with district goals. There's a lot in that sentence, for sure. So the things that we've accomplished this year through our technology planning and design team, that met 4 times this school year, wrote generative AI guidance for students, staff, and families. That guidance was written in partnership with LEAP Innovations. The PDT used information gathered through student, staff, and family surveys and had some deep discussions about what should be included in that guidance. That guidance was shared with staff at the end of this school year and really will be implemented next school year. Additionally, my team worked to create long-term refresh plan for technology within the classroom, including classroom displays and document cameras. Next year, we're going to take all of that work that the technology PDT did around generative AI and provide some professional development to the entire staff using a little bit of train the trainer model, and just trying to take advantage of sharing as much information as possible with our staff about AI so they can start to feel comfortable with it in their classrooms. Additionally, then I will be supporting and working with our information media specialists in using their new instructional spaces alongside Amy. So we're very excited about that. I'm going to turn it over to Jose to talk about facilities.
Thank you, Amanda. So our facility goals in our department for O&M, we review, expand, and clarify the comprehensive master facilities plan on an annual basis to continue to create equitable, quality learning environments both inside and outside of our buildings to serve our students, staff, and communities with a focus on aligning decision-making to district goals. So this past school year, we continue to work with Wold Architects on the long-range facilities plan. We also worked on the media center construction that was started for Prairie View, Park Campus, Frederick, and also Meadowview, due for completion this summer. And we also started the design process for Avon, Woodview, and GMS, slated for the summer of '27. We also updated the learning space over at Park. We've retrofitted GMS with LED lighting this summer. We're about 95% complete. Parking lot lighting has been updated at all the schools as of right now. So accomplishing this summer, safety and security, we're going to have safety and security updates at all the schools. So we've installed a card access, we've been installing the card access hardware on all of our classrooms, offices, replaced exterior doors. They have reached their lifespan, and we have installed they have been installing new intercom systems at all of our schools. For next year, we will continue to work for the long-range facilities plan, evaluate any items that need to be added and addressed, and also address funding the sources. We'll update outdoor learning spaces at Frederick and GMS. We will finalize the media center renovation planning and bid the project out. We will begin the student support space updates for all schools. We will also determine the best plan for instructional support center for the tech team, which is currently located right now at the Frederick building. So it's just something to be looking for in the future. And with that, I turn it over to Mr. Scott Wold.
First, thank you for the warm welcome, but talking about the finance goal, review, expand, and clarify financial practices to increase transparency and communication with a focus on aligning financial decision-making to district goals. What we've done this year is conduct 4 quarterly board meetings. We have the long-range facilities plan, which is needed. Without that, you have no plan and priorities moving forward with your finances and keeping up with the buildings. Of course, the tax levy, we're the levy, the money which funds, and with the long-term facilities plan, and the bonds taken out in capital projects and all that coming on. November, you always have the audit. They'll do the audit every year, and that gives you a lot of knowledge on what you need to do as really a whole school district, but financial and business department, what we need to do to make things more efficient. Staffing happened in March. You always need to look at that early. Staffing is always the biggest cost to a school district, so it's always important to get that right. Most importantly, you need to get that right because they work with the students, right? And that's the most important thing, even from my office, is the students, and that is always going to be the focus. And then, of course, you start the budget process. You start the budget process very early on. You present it in June, but you're starting that in December and January for the following year. That's a 6-month project. So, and what we want to do this year, number one is, I think Dr. Carmona mentioned earlier, listen and learn. I'm learning all the procedures of the school district, the processes, and working with all of cabinet, have met with all of them already and will continue to, and with the principals, just to ensure we are being efficient. We are doing what is best for students, and we're not being wasteful with resources. So talking about the budget and the long-range facilities plan, talking about the tax levy and where that money should be allocated to. I'm sure the 1% sales tax, we've probably talked about that a lot as the school district, but if that does pass in November, could bring a lot of extra funding in to the district to help with a balanced budget. Of course, staffing, and of course, I will work very closely with Chris to make sure we're always fully staffed and what's right for students. And then again, the budget for next year. So it's just a lot of collaboration from my department right now, listening and learning, and just making sure I'm listening to historically what's been happening in the district and the team that sits right here in this room to make sure we're doing what's best moving forward. And I will turn it over. Leslie.
Hello. The communications goal is to review, expand, and clarify communication methods to provide consistency and transparency with stakeholders and establish a CCSD 46 brand that supports the mission, vision, and values of the district. So this year, we improved family engagement with our Parent Square usage, 159% increase in the interactions from last year. So those are the comments, the appreciations, direct messages that our staff has received through Parent Square from our families. And that is great to see that kind of interaction coming through. We also provided additional targeted registration messages to families, which resulted in a 10% increase in our registrations by May 20th. So we've really been working to push that registration process earlier and make sure we get people on board so that we can do our planning for the fall. So also accomplished this year, we communicated with our incoming kindergarten families regarding the new two-way dual language program. I worked extensively with Mrs. Bogren, and we did do a 12-week campaign to reach out to our families for our incoming kindergarten through the press, through our social media and groups, and we did a great job, I think. We also communicated with the community about our summer construction, and that is a lot of fun to be doing and to be sharing that information. We've had a lot of good interaction with that as well. And then for the 26-27 school year, we will continue with that community, with the construction projects that we've had on deck. And we will also begin D46 stories. So I will be talking to many of you, as well as our students, staff, and community members about what D46 means to them and what their connections are. And with that, I will hand it back to Mrs. Gluck.
And I'm just back up here to say, are there any questions? Thanks for listening.
Thank you, team. Any questions from the board, comments? Mr. Weedman?
I just have one thing that Mr. Wold had mentioned about the November 1%. Was that moving forward? I know we gave our resolution.
It'll be on the.
It's being voted
on. Oh, it is.
It'll be on the ballot.
Voted on, but from my understanding, at least half of the school boards in the county had to be supportive to even put it on the ballot. But that will be on the November ballot.
Okay, that was first I heard that. So.
Not really a question, just a thank you to Leslie in particular for the communication goals. I know, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have a once-a-month community engagement committee meeting, and Leslie is often in attendance as a staff member to help our PTO leaders understand what's going on in the district, to answer questions. So I've seen some of the outreach, and I'm so grateful that we're developing ways for that two-way communication. Seems like we're moving more intentionally towards that direction where families have options and mechanisms by which they can reach out outside of formal strategic planning or other similar type events. So thank you for your work.
And same, I don't have a question, but I really want to give a deep thanks to you all and to everybody involved in all of this work, because what's really rewarding is to see those actual physical accomplishments that are happening because of the strategic plan and the work that, we always talk about measuring things up here, right? But all that work is done in between all of these board meetings, right? It's you and the teams and the community and the students and the families and everybody that are in the trenches, and then we get to see the really, really good outcomes of that. And it's really appreciated because, we can see it happening in real time for the benefit, and that's why District 46 is a special place. And so, we meet twice a month and we get to hear these wonderful stories, but you're really, really, really leading this stuff. And it's really, really appreciated. So thank you for that.
Stephen said what I was going to say really well, so I won't add on to it except to say that it's pretty amazing. When I was first appointed to the board 8 years ago, one of my first questions was like, where's the strategy? What's the strategic plan? And it's just really cool to see where we started, where someone sent me like a Word document. They're like, here you go. To now, where we've completed a full cycle. That's really, you're to be commended for that. I do have a question. It kind of relates to Stephen's compliment, which is you all had to live with this plan. We just got to see the beautiful slides, but you all had to live with it and actually implement it day in and day out. So this is a question that if you got some initial thoughts tonight, great, but also I think just a question that we should be thinking about as we approach the next one, which is, what did you learn in the implementation of this last plan that can inform how we approach the next plan? So what did we do well that worked? What do we want to never do again? What do we want to consider doing differently? I think that's going to be an important conversation to have as we move into, a process conversation. Because you all, again, are the ones who are going to have to live with it day to day. So we're really interested to hear your perspectives on that.
Yep.
Thank you guys for your presentation. As always, just well thought through and comprehensive. My question and I think comment is both for Amy Gluck. So lucky you. When you were talking about the proficiency skills, I wanted to just scratch at that and just understand a little bit more about where that work, what's going to be what consists of that body of work, and will that help to inform like targets that we have around reading and math growth? That's kind of been a sore spot for me over the years. And so, how do we leverage the proficiency skill work to help see growth in those key areas?
Yeah, so first, yes, it will inform all of that. So typically when we're looking at proficiency scales, an easier way to think about that is thinking about success criteria. So it will very clearly define for our staff, students, and families exactly where students fall in terms of mastery of a standard. And then, so if you're thinking about some proficiency scales have a 3 is where we expect proficiency and mastery of a standard. A 2 might be some criteria that they're developing, whereas a 4 might be where they are already extending some of that learning. So it will help to really clearly define for everyone what it means to be mastering a standard and what are the learning targets within that standard that we're looking for.
And then your team would then be would anchor back to that to identify targets for growth?
Yeah, so you'll be able to look at that overall.
Okay.
We can look at it by grade level, because if we're all using the same scales, to ensure that we are grading in the same way, and then it helps us to be able to look at that and say, here's our patterns that we're noticing, either for student groups and or for grade levels or for certain content areas to be able to help with that. And it's probably not a one-year project. And there will need to be a lot of not only professional development for staff around that, but it's also teaching students, right? So students will be able to look at that to be able to say, here's what I still need to do to be able to master that standard. And so it just creates clarity for everyone. And then also for families to be able to look at where their students fall in terms of mastery.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I learned the appropriate word. Instead of saying equity ladder, I should be saying scaffolding. But so I was thinking back to when we had, as a board, some equity training I guess this probably goes back like 4 years ago now, but there was like an image of kids that were like different heights trying to like look over to the field to see the game, and it was like ladders, but it's scaffolds now. So, so I was thinking about that with regards to that body of work as well. So I think it would help do that scaffolding that we heard earlier. And then my comment, I'm super excited about curriculum number 2 goal. So on the heels of graduation season out of D127, there are so many awesome kids that are biliterate, like graduated with their seal of biliteracy. And I'm just sitting here like, man, these Grace Lake kids, you know, coming through. I mean, we're starting in at the K, you know, K-8 level, right? So by the time these kids, you know, graduate out of districts, I would imagine that we have like a really strong pool of biliteracy sealed students. So thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Put my glasses on. Okay, that brings us to the new business portion of the agenda. We've got a few items to kind of move through here. The first one being the student information system. Dr. Pelser, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so as you may recall from Brad Goldstein's financial update at the last board meeting, one of the items he shared that we would be reviewing was the cost of an updated student information system. During our strategic plan update just a few seconds ago, you heard about the work that the 5/8 standards-based grading and reporting PDT is doing and the work that technology PDT did to evaluate other potential student information systems. While all of that feedback let us know that there is a need for a change to our student information system, the administration is not recommending a change at this time based on our current financial situation. So, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just had a quick question, and I don't think it'll be anything that's a curveball. Knowing what those gaps are, and are there plans to kind of address any of those and even a piecemeal way?
Yeah, so Amy Gluck and I have spent some time scheduled some time on our calendars to see what we can do to manage the gaps until we are able to really do this the correct way. So,
Oh, thank you. Okay, next is the district office basement ceiling. Mr. Wold, is that anything like a comment? Yep.
There had been, from my understanding, asking and understanding the history of some leakage in the basement at district office, which has created mold and some other structural issues. So we did go out and get quotes to seal it, to ensure moving forward that will not happen, and of course to make sure it's safe in the building for all of us. We did get 2 quotes. U.S. Waterproofing was the lowest responsible. They came in at $26,956. And then we also got Permaseal, which came in at $33,700. Those should be the total cost. Of course, if they find something down there during, you know, any kind of demolition, it could be extra, but I've asked them to ensure that it was in writing that this would be approximate and there would be very little, if any, extra cost. So we would be recommending, of course, U.S. Waterproofing as the lower responsible bidder in this case.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wold, you said something about that there are health implications for this. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, there could be. I'm not an expert in this, but I know with water leakage over time could develop into mold. So that's something that when they go down there, they would be testing for, and if they find it, would also have to, of course, get rid of that as well. So that is, with the leaking that has happened, it could be the case with leaking over time, and that is what they had talked to Jose and I about. We are hoping it is not, of course, but that is something that could happen over time with dampness down there.
Just to follow up, is that part of our health and safety committee, or our safety committee, is health part of that when we talk about safety and security, or no?
well, we have a health, life, safety survey that happens, but that would be very different than like what Jose was talking about with safety and security. When we're talking safety and security in that case, we're talking about safety and security of students and staff in the building. God forbid something would happen, and following procedures that are recommended for that. This would be, yes, a safety concern possibly, but very different than what Jose was referring to. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It is one of the downfalls of using a very old farmhouse for a.
For an
district
office.
You gotta expect some of this.
Okay, next up on the list, the right at school service contract extension. I think that's still you, Mr. Wold.
It is, yeah. I got a chance to learn all about this. It's a great program for parents, and even staff can take advantage for their children before and after school care for parents that need to get to work early or don't come home from work late. They do supervise students during that time. They do enrichment activities, kind of fun recreational activities, but just a way to keep the students involved and engaged until parents can come pick them up. We do not pay anything for that, and I've heard from asking around that it has been very popular. Community members have had no problems with it. They've enjoyed it. They've relied on it. I've also asked, of course, Cabinet, and also it does bring in a small amount of revenue for us as well. 5% of all revenue does come back to the district for any parent who uses their services.
Okay.
So I'd recommend that we continue that. I've heard nothing but great things for it.
Great, thank you. Next up, the miscellaneous rates substitute pay. Dr. Wolk?
Yes, thank you. This is an annual review of some of our non-contractual pay rates. After a review of the substitute rates in the surrounding area, we will be looking to increase our daily substitute rate $10 per day.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And right back at you for the next one, the CSBO mentoring contract.
Sounds good. For the past 4 months, we have had an interim CSBO, and on July 1st, our new CSBO, Scott Wold, began his new role with us. To ensure a smooth leadership transition and preserve institutional knowledge, the administration proposes retaining our interim, Mr. Brad Goldstein, to serve in a mentoring capacity during this leadership transition.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And Mrs. Gluck, the Evolve Service Agreement for 26-27.
Yeah, so some of you may remember hearing about Evolve. They came to do a board presentation previously. For those of you that don't, Evolve is a social emotional learning program that fosters connection and belonging that benefits many students. Evolve trains our staff in how to run those groups, and then also works to be able to see the impact that those groups are having on our students. So they look at some data and do some data analysis for us that they send back to us. In the 24-25 school year, it included all 3 of our bigger schools, so Frederick, GMS, and Park. And we serviced 137 students through the Evolve program. And it continued to thrive last year as well and continued to grow. So, you know, as we're talking about this and thinking about it, we do recommend moving forward with Evolve again with the caveat of that throughout this school year, we will continue to have some discussion about phasing out the use of Evolve while continue to supporting students with social emotional learning.
Thank you, Mrs. Gluck. Any comments, additional comments or questions from anybody? Mrs. Miller?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was looking that way.
Go ahead. Okay. So, wouldn't be surprised if you don't have this at the top of your head, but I'm just curious. We were tracking behavioral issues pre and post initiating the Evolve program. So I'm just wondering what trends you've noticed as a result. I know it's always hard to look at one program as a complete cause effect, but just curious about that.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Is I don't know that we can say Evolve alone is what is impacting that. When Evolve sends us the data, and they should be sending us that pretty soon in terms of the end of the second semester for last year. They're looking at things like, did it improve student attendance? Did it improve student proficiency in terms of their classes and their core content and things like that? So I don't know how much we could correlate some of the behavior data back to Evolve, but we can go back and look at it and see related to referrals and things like that.
Yeah, let me add one piece here. One of the things that I want to start doing and implementing anytime that we have any type of contracts like this is to make sure that we have some sort of program evaluation along the way. One of the pieces that unfortunately I know we don't do a lot of in education is to evaluate, is that program giving us the return on investment that we want? So we can't do it for every single one of those programs because there's a cost associated with that as well. But at the same time, when we have programs that have a large amount of funding that is being utilized, we need to make sure that it's actually giving us the return on investment that is intended. It's hard to do, I can tell you that, but we have to be strategic about what are the areas that we're going to spend our time doing that program evaluation.
Thanks for that additional context, Dr. Carmona. That was one of the things I was thinking about, was like the cost benefit. I agree with the step down, the phasing approach. I'm curious, how do I frame this? The absorption of this work. I know we have teachers that have been certified and trained, and how are we thinking about we're always talking about balancing the workload and, curriculum time and all the things, right? And so how does this then factor into what we're asking of the teachers?
Mm-hmm. So all of the teachers, there's 6 staff at each building that are leading the groups. They are all staff who volunteered to lead these groups. So all staff who very strongly feel that social emotional learning intervention, because it's considered a tier 2 intervention, is really important. This is happening, these groups are happening during their WIN time, so during their What I Need time, so it's not taking away from core content, it's in addition to that. And it is, again, they are meeting, in addition to their training from Evolve, they meet monthly with Evolve to be able to get support from them. So the feedback we've had from the staff is not only do they see the benefit from the students in terms of sense of belonging and connection, they're feeling like they're more connected to the students. So they're all seeing the benefit to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Topics for future agenda items is where we are now at. Sure, no worries.
While you're holding, or while we're holding and you're looking, can I just, I'm wondering if the board agrees, if we could ask the Resource Conservation Committee to re-present their information. Only 2 of us were at that meeting, so there's some good information that I think was valuable, and some hard work went into it. So I'm wondering if there's a way, without imposing too much on staff or volunteers, is there a way to bring back some of that information so we all have it?
Was that recorded on a live stream?
If we can commit as a board to watch it, yeah, I think that would be an efficient way to do it.
I think that would be super efficient.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to watch it. It was,
Oh, yeah.
Was it from the June meeting?
Yes.
It was from the June meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
I can
totally
send
in.
it timestamped if you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, for August 12th, it will be approval of all of those new items that we just discussed. So the Right at School contract extension, the basement project, the miscellaneous rates, Evolve. And then will we be having a finance committee meeting at the next one? We had a possible finance committee. I'm going to go probably not.
Like, sure.
More than happy to have one.
Okay.
Maybe a joint decision here, but we can.
All right, we can get back to you on that
Sure.
one.
That's fine.
Yeah, let's have it as a tentative item
Yeah,
at
that's
this
fine.
point. Yeah.
That's all.
Mr. Weidman?
So this will kind of tie into your finance committee question, if we're going to have it soon. And I'd like to have a discussion regarding more or less a moratorium on any large spending caps until we can get Scott be able to get a hold of the budget and figure out where we're at, and we can come up with a plan for the spending in the future. I know we have a lot of capital improvement projects that are already on the books that I'm not saying we stop those, but anything going forward into 27, 28, 29, 29, blah, 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 that we really look deeply into our master plan, our strategic plan, facilities plan, if I got the right jargon there, with Wold and Jose and Scott, you know, kind of looking over and seeing, okay, what is emergency, the stuff that we have to do right away, and what can we push off so we can stave off this surprise that we got last month. I think we were all taken aback by the information that we had gotten. We did not see that coming. So if it's not the if it's not the finance meeting, next meeting might be the following one, so it gives us some time to delve into that, and then have a really deep down conversation about where we're going, and how we can stave off what we kind of got slapped in the face with. And it's gonna take some time for them to get their hands around it, and Dr. Carmona to work around it. So, you know, I'm not saying we stop for 26, 27, but where we can, we need to, like, put a little bit of a moratorium on until we get a handle on everything. I think that's why we're here, right? Our financial responsibility.
And did you intend then for us to have the conversation about that the next time, or are we just coming to a little consensus?
However you want to work that, I saw a lot of nodding heads there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all
page.
in that
Just say that's
same
what we're gonna
feeling, to kind of pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I think, and just to be clear, I was also as shocked as you were last month to understand the deficit. And the reality is, Scott and I, actually, we haven't even had a chance to look at it. And we want to make sure that we have a good understanding of what are the immediate needs, what are the issues that are safety, that pose a safety issue for our students, our staff, or our community as a whole, and really rethink about the facility master plan and what are the items that we actually have to take care. That those we have to. Anything else, we're probably going to have to put a pause on those. Because at the end of the day, we have a fiscal responsibility to ensure that the resources that we have in the district are dedicated to our students. That's our biggest goal, and we have to make sure that that's the case. I want to clarify, though, that that doesn't mean that we're not going to take care of our facilities.
No,
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we can't teach in an environment that is not safe for our students, or an environment that is not inviting for our students. What I'm saying is that we really have to be very strategic in the way how we move forward with any large financial decisions in the district. So I'm certainly supportive of that, and had a conversation with the cabinet this morning about it.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to that conversation, because I think anytime, even in a personal standpoint, when you realize that your budget is tighter than you expected, it forces you, it invites you to be really resourceful. And we have a community that has a lot of resources, both people and natural infrastructure resources. So I'm looking forward, I'm not happy about the deficit. The silver lining, though, is I'm looking forward to really looking at what our community has to offer that we can take advantage of, that maybe we've missed before.
Okay.
I had two things. One was, I don't want to I know that the folks who are doing the dual language are like in the thick of it to get ready, but I'm so excited. So when the time is right, I would just really like to hear all about how it's going, you know, once you've got it off the ground. But I just want you to know how excited I am for it, and really looking forward to just hearing the details when you have bandwidth to share them. And then the other thing I think I would like to understand, and I don't know if this is an agenda item or just maybe a communication at some point, is I know there's some firewalls when we were working on our referendum. There were firewalls around what we could do as a district, and Maureen, you know, her journey to the board was running that campaign because it had to be community-led. So I'd like to understand what the advocacy opportunities are for that sales tax, if it's going to be on the ballot. Like, what can we do and what can't we do that we need the community to do? Because I would like to make sure that if it's going to be on the ballot, let's get it passed. Let's do some work. So just understanding, like, what's possible and what's not possible, so that we could be proactive, I think would be very helpful too.
Okay, any other items? Has anybody from the public signed up for public comments?
There are no public comments.
Thank you, public. Okay, and I don't think we have a closed session this evening, correct? Okay, all right. So I need a motion to adjourn this evening.
I'll second.
Okay,
Hune,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
aye.
Weedman, and Braden.
Aye.
All right, and thank you once again, and welcome once again, Dr. Carmona and Mr. Wold to the first board meeting, and thank you for everything that you all are doing. Good night, everybody.